Okay, hey guys, it's Paul. So today I wanted to talk about a pretty popular topic right now, and that's Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and more specifically, whether or not you should play physical Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel if you had to make the choice. Now, I think that the big disclaimer in the room here is that there's certainly no reason why you can't just play both, and I think for most avid Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans, that's going to pretty much just be the solution. You'll still keep your physical cards, you'll still go to locals, you'll still play the card game, but Master Duel can be a fun distraction. It can be a fun way to kind of get in a lot of fast games and things like that. And today I just wanted to compare and contrast the two because I do feel like there's a few different categories, so to speak, that sort of come up when people talk about this. So I think that the biggest one is probably going to be accessibility. Now, as far as physical Yu-Gi-Oh goes, if you're already, invested into Yu-Gi-Oh, that is to say, you've got some cards, you've got a binder, sleeves, deck box, mat, and a locals you go to, then, the barrier to entry to you is already kind of been passed, and you just go and you play. However, I would say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel certainly wins in this respect for somebody who is maybe like getting into Yu-Gi-Oh for the first time or like trying to get back into the game after many many years, because Master Duel is a simple download away. You don't really have to buy anything. It's a free to play game, to some degree, and you don't have to really buy anything. You can just download it on whatever platform. It's about to be out on phones, and you can play it on anything you want. Meanwhile, physically, you do have to invest quite a bit of just like physical space, some time, some travel, even to getting the things that you need and sort of being able to play. And I think that in that respect, Master Duel kind of has the edge here. And continuing with that, I would actually say that just the amount of time investment to get duels out of Master Duel is a lot lower than like physical real life. What do I mean by that? So basically, like, and I've talked about this in past videos. If you think about how much Yu-Gi-Oh you get to actually play when you play in a local tournament, it's a lot lower than what you can get out of just playing a really fast-paced simulator. So for instance, when I go to locals and I have to travel, like 10, 20, I know some people say they even travel 30 minutes or an hour to go to locals, that's fine. You go, you meet people, and then like you have a tournament. A tournament that's only 4 rounds might actually end up lasting as long as like 3 or 4 hours. And in that time, you only get 4 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh in. Meanwhile, on a game like Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel, it's very easy to just kind of like sit and take a couple hours and get many, 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 many reps in of games. Now, they both have the same problems of like, long turns or things like that. But I think that for somebody who just wants to get in and get out with Yu Gi Oh!, Master Duel also feels superior in that respect. It's great for players like me who kind of, I like to build a lot of different decks and I like to just play Yu Gi Oh! And just kind of quickly get my feet wet with a new deck and like just play lots of games over and over and over and over and over again without really having to like wait for the next round. I also don't like the kind of fatty physical parts of Yu-Gi-Oh, like sleeving and unsleeving, digging up cards, those sorts of things for me at least kind of are always like tedious chores that get in the way of me just playing the physical game. I just want to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't really want to spend a lot of time like digging for stuff. Now that isn't to say that's everybody's taste. I think for a lot of people the physical aspects of the game are still really important, like just the physical holding of the cards and the gameplay. I'm going to get into that in a second. But I think that just in terms of like time to Yu-Gi-Oh ratio, Master Duel certainly has it beat there too. Now though, up to this point you're probably thinking, all right, well, Paul's clearly just a Master Duel stan and he's just going to try to sell me on playing this damn game. But it's not that simple because now we get into the costs of the game and that's a little bit trickier. So, physical Yu-Gi-Oh costs money, like of course. Even if we exclude the just simple entry barriers of just trying to have like a deck box and some sleeves and like a basic deck to begin with, like a structure deck, that might be like $30 for 3 copies of a Shadal structure or something like that. You still need to spend a fair amount of money getting staples, whether you choose to buy the staples as singles, whether you decide that you want to like pull a bunch of packs and hope to open them. Either way, you are going to be spending a pretty penny. That said, though, there is a benefit to it. So, well, first let's talk about Master Duel. In Master Duel, you can build a lot of decks for free to play if you just grind gems. You can open packs. You can dismantle ultra and super rare cards and stuff to get other cards. It can be a little bit slow, a little bit arduous, but you can do it and you can build a couple of decks, just playing free to play without really even having to open your wallet. However, you'll know that if you want to build like a lot of good decks or just a lot of different decks, you're probably going to end up just having to like start whaling. Not like whaling hundreds and hundreds and thousands of thousands, but you will probably have to buy some gems. So in that way, it's not too different than regular Yu-Gi-Oh. The main reason I think that regular Yu-Gi-Oh has a bit of an edge here, though, like physical Yu-Gi-Oh, is because you do own the cards, and that means that you can always trade these cards for other cards. You can always sell these cards. It's not always easy to do that because ban lists can be really unpredictable, and you have to sort of be able to move cards around. So if you don't have like buyers, then you can't actually sell stuff. It's easy to do it online on TCG Player, eBay, or something, but that does take a little bit more effort. So I think, and this is one of those areas where it really balances out because like with the physical TCG, owning the cards yourself, I think is a really big thing for people. People don't like maybe the idea of a digital game where you don't technically own anything in Master Duel. It's all just some stuff on a server. It's just digital bytes, ones and zeros. They could shut this game down tomorrow, and like any money that you spent on it, any decks that you built, they're just poof, they're gone. Whereas in physical Yu-Gi-Oh, even if Konami said tomorrow, okay, we're never printing another card, you still own everything that you own, and no one can take that from you. So in that way, I would have to say that they kind of even out to me. I think there are still some small perks that like Master Duel maybe offers. For instance, I like the fact that you only have to have 3 copies of a given card and then you can use it across any decks. So like in physical Yu-Gi-Oh, if I wanted to play Pot of Extravagance in 2 different decks and like I wanted to play 3 copies in 2 different decks, I'd have to either switch them, the physical cards out back and forth whenever I want to play the decks, which isn't too bad. I'm not saying it's like the hardest thing in the world, but in Master Duel, I can literally I have 3 Pot of Extravagance. I can use it in all of these different decks. And that is a nice convenience feature. So once you've pulled like a playset of a card, you literally never have to worry about that card again. In physical Yu-Gi-Oh, that's not like necessarily the case, but it mostly still is the case. Like you can, trade staples around extra deck cards. It just is like a small step more hassle. So I think they even out there. The next thing is kind of, do you prefer Sims versus physical play? This one gets super subjective, so I don't think that there's like a right or wrong answer here. Simulators are fun in that they kind of like ensure that nobody can cheat. They ensure that like the rules have to be followed and all of the just decorum goes as planned. But I know for some people, simulators can be. Some people see them as a bit of a handicap, in that like it always tells you when you have an effect you can activate, when you have a thing you can summon or a thing you can do. It notifies you of everything. Some people will say it's like training wheels. I kind of disagree. I mean, I think that it's nice that it just lets that stuff be available to you and keeps everything very transparent and very open. There are small gripes I know people have with like hand traps. So for instance, you can kind of always know if your opponent has a hand trap in a simulator like Master Duel, and it's been like this even in like EDO Pro, where like the game waits for your opponent to have a response if they have a hand trap or anything that can be chained. Whereas in physical Yu-Gi-Oh, that would never really happen. Your opponent can just ask you to give them a moment or not, and so that bit of bluffing or mind games is kind of removed. But I mean, overall, I think like Sims are fine. I will say they can get a bit tedious with like the prompts all the time. Like, do you want to activate this? Do you want to chain this? Do you want to activate this? Do you want to chain this? I saw a funny skit about that recently. But yeah, so I think like in that way, Sims can be a little bit just having to select everything can actually take longer in many cases than physical Yu-Gi-Oh. Meanwhile, with physical Yu-Gi-Oh, I like handling physical cards. I really like being able to like kind of shuffle my card, shuffle my hands, spread out the graveyard, pick up a card and just like read it. Um, so for me, I think physical Yu-Gi-Oh actually is a little bit more therapeutic to play. So when I'm sitting down and actually playing it, I enjoy myself. Still though, like I said earlier, I don't like all of the hassle outside of getting to play, all the sleeving and all the finding. But like when I'm sitting down across the table from my opponent playing with the cards, um, that for me is just that's much more preferable. Let's see. So outside of those things, I also do feel that people might think that sort of winning in physical Yu-Gi-Oh counts for a little bit more than winning in Master Duel, because in Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel, um, one might argue that because it's a sim and it's holding your hand, that maybe like getting in platinum rank 1 doesn't really mean anything because you can just kind of keep playing until you do. Whereas like in physical Yu-Gi-Oh, especially if you're at like a regional or YCS, you have to go through like 8 or 9 grueling rounds. Face-to-face Yu-Gi-Oh certainly has an element of like mind games. There's an element of exhaustion that plays out as the day goes on. Um, so what I'm interested in seeing actually in the future is whether or not players sort of hold Master Duel results in as high a regard as they hold TCG results. Because Master Duel is supposed to be starting to do like tournaments and events soon. We don't know exactly when, but soon. And I think when that happens, we'll find ourselves in a position where it's like, does it mean more to win a Master Duel tournament? Does it mean more to win a TCG tournament? Are they equal? I know Konami said they're going to be flying people out for Worlds for like Master Duel events. Don't know if it's going to happen this year because of COVID, but eventually that seems to be their plan, as they indicated when the game was first announced. So, that's the thing. I think for now I would say that like physical Yu-Gi-Oh still feels like it's probably the more legitimate form of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm not like hard fast clung to that idea. It just seems like it's kind of where people's heads are probably at. We'll see if that changes. I still think that Master Duel is great because the barrier to entry is so low. Like anyone can enter these tournaments that like people are holding and stuff. So there's that. And the final thing I want to talk about are the social aspects because that's another place where I feel like the physical TCG kind of has Master Duel beat, and it's just not like a really a thing that so, like, when you play Yu Gi Oh! And you go to your card shop, you meet people, you make friends. These are the same friends that you'll talk about Yu Gi Oh! With, and the same friends that you'll play test with throughout the week, and even maybe travel to, large out of state or out of region tournaments. And so that's not something you can really get in Master Duel. In Master Duel, you're basically facing anonymous people online over and over and over. You can enter a Master Duel tournament that maybe like your favorite content creator or something is hosting, but generally speaking, I would say that, meeting people, being face to face with Master Duel isn't like really a thing, whereas with the physical TCG it is. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best thing for everyone who wants to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Some people just want to play. Some people don't really care about like meeting people, talking, chit-chatting, socializing. Not as much the case. I kind of actually lean a little bit closer to that because for me, when I play Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't really like to chatter or talk or like really anything. I just want to sit and I just want to play. So for me, I kind of lean towards Master Duel in that respect, but I'm still very thankful for the friends I met through Yu-Gi-Oh, and those are always like a set of memories that I think are just really special to me. So I think like if I'm just playing this game as a phone mobile game type of thing, I'll never really view it in any respect past just a way to play the game. So all in all, I've gone on long enough. I know this ended up being a little longer than I expected, but I want to know where you guys fall. Which do you prefer, physical Yu-Gi-Oh or this digital Yu-Gi-Oh through Master Duel? Obviously, I know a lot of people are going to just play both, and that's totally fine. But I just want to know, like, where you stand on it, which you lean towards, and why. So let me know down in the comments. I'd be interested in hearing. It's going to be it. See you guys in the next one. Pass turn.